Welcome to a new week. I want to congratulate you on a very full week last week. The speed on your legs and additional work in your strength routine will continue to tire out your body, so please get that recovery in. Full nights of sleep are key.
A new week also means a new technique. This week, you'll learn the technique hear out. When you're practicing this technique, you are, just like last week, limiting your focus range to one sense category.
We'll get into this before we step into this week's schedule, which is a 50-minute run on deck, followed by our tempo, strength, and then our long run, adding 10 minutes from last week up to 70 minutes of running. I'm going to pass it off to Christian, who will cover your next mindfulness technique for the week ahead.
Thank you, David. So this time we're limiting our focus range to only external auditory experiences, which means anything that you can hear with your ears. We are again dividing anything that you can hear externally into two categories, which are active and restful states. When you're noticing external auditory activity, then you are hearing sounds. It might be far away or close, loud or silent, pleasant or unpleasant. These are some of the characteristics that you can notice about a sound. When you're noticing external auditory rest, so relative silence, you're still hearing and listening. You're just not detecting a lot of activity anymore. For example, I am talking right now, you're listening to me, and all of a sudden I stop talking for a few seconds, but you're still listening. If you're now paying attention to that silence emanating from this direction, then you're experiencing external auditory rest. Anything that you cannot hear externally, like mental talk in your mind. You can hear it, but not with your ears. You hear it in your mind. Or visual thoughts, and anything that you can feel in the body will be outside of the focus range. And let me repeat what I said last week. It is totally fine and no problem whatsoever if you notice thoughts, if you notice something in the body, or if you notice you're watching something. The difference is that you're not trying to notice those experiences that are outside of the focus range. In this case, anything that you can hear externally. But when you do notice it anyway, you then return your attention back to the focus range, and you will notice that your attention will be drawn outside of the focus range very often. Very, very often. But that is not a problem, but an opportunity. You only have two labels again. The labels are hear, short for hear out, and rest, short for external auditory rest, so silence. You're going to practice this technique by limiting your attention to external auditory experiences, anything that you can hear with your ears. But what you can hear will either be active or restful. So when you direct your attention to something that you can hear, you clearly acknowledge it, then you label it with either hear if you've noticed activity, like if you're listening to my voice, or you label it with rest if you have noticed silence. After you label it, you keep listening to what you just noticed and labeled for a couple of seconds before you repeat that process. Of course, it can happen that you notice a sound and that sound stops all of a sudden. That's normal, and then you just try to listen to the silence that follows. And of course, it can also be the exact other way around.